Spring has sprung here in mid-April, a little early. We had some hot weather. This is a beautiful daffodil. I forget the variety, it came from Ben Becky's, but it's really clumped up nicely. And we have a lot of stuff growing in the front. Daylilies and seedlings of my own. There's daffodils. And there's this row of tulips that came with the house, the red ones. I have to spray them, keep the deer off. And I'll give another spray tonight. We've had a dry and sometimes hot week for April, and they're doing really good. You know, I weed them, I put a few daffodils in with them, I spray them to keep the deer off. The moss phlox now are coming into bloom. This one I think is called Cracker Jack. It's a really nice bicolor chimeral one. Every now and then you'll see a sport. Yeah, there's one right there, I think, where it sports into like regular pink with an eye. And then there's other things here too. Agapanthus is growing, one of the species. Phaeons have been blooming for a while here. They've invaded an iris. This is one of the arrowbred irises that I got a while back. More of those beautiful red tulips. Tulips are perennial here as long as the rodents don't get them, and the deer. And with effort, you can keep the deer off. You know, this house came with these in a little stone like setting here. And then I made this little like sandy area here for delospermas and arrowbred irises. And the delos took a little hit in the winter, but they're coming back strong. They'll be in bloom very soon with hot magenta flowers. Here we can see some more of those little daffodils interspersed in with the tulips. I probably should break that up at some point, but well, you know how it is in gardening. There's a lot of things we could be doing. And I worked very hard today, and I haven't got anywhere near the front yard until now, and it's about 5 o'clock. Again, the tulips are looking stupendous. You know, they come and go quickly. So I want to get a nice picture of them while they're still doing their thing. And before I have to spray them again tonight. You can see the daffodils, the later ones are still blooming, really nice. Some other ones faded in the 90-degree heat we had for 2 days, which is very atypical for New York. But it did get things moving that were dormant, and things that I protect with mulch like agapanthus are coming out now nicely. Again, this tulip walkway goes down for a bit, and then there's a little sparser down here. But we've also got loads of creeping phlox. I mean, I got a lot of these at as really cheap plants on sale from I think some from Bluestone and some came years ago when they were cheap, and then most probably came from Santa Rosa. And you know, those little plants spread into giant mats and even seed around occasionally. Over on this side, it's a little more bare. I'm redoing this area, took out some bushes, and the gingers will be coming up late. You can see the crinums are coming up. This is crinum bulbospermum. This is a bunch that have been here for a long time. And they bloom beautifully come the end of May, June. And there's seedlings coming up everywhere. And there's Haplocarphya as well. We've got, most of these are coalescens. This weird one here is a coalescens hybrid. They got pretty beat back by the winter, but they just sprout right back and they'll flower beautifully. Some daffodils here have faded out, and some of the smaller spring bulbs. Here we see Haplocarphya aloides, I'm sorry, Northiae, which took a beating this winter, but the crowns are coming back good. One of them did actually die, but it's making a side crown. They do that when they have a bad year, or rough year, they will make a lot of side crowns if a main crown dies. And there's other stuff near, more crinums, daffodils, and oh yeah, the very aptly named Cordylis nobilis, which is a beautiful thing. I wish it would spread, but it just stays there. And then a fritillary. This is why I have such trouble growing fritillaries. Look at it. It's those damn lily beetles, 3 of them. They drop off this red horror, and they're getting squished. I will spray this plant after it finishes flowering with a systemic to keep them off. You cannot grow lilies and frits here because of these damn beetles. I would love to have like a meadow of Fritium meleagris. You know, they have these beautiful little speckly flowers and stuff, but yeah, we have to do something about the beetles first. I understand there's a parasite that's been brought in, but it's not doing anything around here, at least I haven't seen it. We have some other stuff back here that'll be better later in the season. These are nice Amaryllis belladonna hybrid or selections that were made by the late Bill Welsh, and I'm growing a bunch of them. There's some ginger coming up next to the house in a protected location. Here we also have some I added some hippeastrums to the mix, some of those old past long X. Johnsonii types with the red and white flowers. I got some from Texas on eBay, planted a few of them, and some of them are coming up here and some of them are coming up elsewhere. Over here against the wall, with its protective mulch removed, the acantholaimon senii is sprouting. That is a very thorny thing with gorgeous red flowers that come just about as the frost is going to come. There's another hippeastrum there behind the more brighter green foliage of the Amaryllis belladonnas. The Amaryllis belladonnas will grow here with mulch to protect them in winter. Just scrape it back a little bit. And the leaves will grow they try to grow in winter. They get burnt off, as you can see, at the edges. And then they die back, and then about July, and then they flower beautifully in August and even make seeds here. There's also a Haplocarphya splendidum here that a form I collected, but it dies back every year to the base, even with a little protection. It's not nearly as hardy as collections made by Silva Hill and Panayiotis, but it survives 2 winters in a row, but it's not as shows you that a plant can vary a lot in terms of hardiness. Now I'm going to also take a little walk around here and see what else we got. Oh yeah, we have a really cool peony over here. Let me go. First we'll see another nice moss phlox. I love the color of these things. It's a short display, but it's a beautiful one. And over here, I have to walk carefully here because there's some plants I got to step on to get here. It's a beautiful species peony. I think it's, I forget, Vetchii or whatever. Got it from friends in town who grew it, and they didn't particularly like it. I think it's gorgeous, and it's just done great here. They grow it it grew beautifully in their woodland soil, but in this much tougher soil and full sun, it's doing fabulous. And the flowers are exquisite. They're short-lived, but beautiful, and they nod gracefully. Very small growing for a peony. Next to it over there is a Barcella, which will be gorgeous when it comes into flower, and another Ito over there of some root from, I don't know, Home Depot. We'll see what it turns into when it blooms. There's another Narcissus there. We have at my feet here on the wall a Phaon, and then there's a Brunera, I think that is what that is, the blue forget-me-not-like thing. There's another Haplocarphya splendidum here, which turned into a huge mass last year despite heavy dieback. This one did get some dieback. It's coming back at the base too, but more strongly than the collection I made. There's other plants that have done a little better. When they die back, they don't flower as much that year, but they do have beautiful silvery, fragrant foliage, and this one is growing really robustly at the base. I will probably trim this guy, although it does have some terminal growth on it. There's another peony here that came from my friends that self-sowed. Just self-sowed, is probably a cross with some species ones, and it's got a pretty leaf and a nice flower. Once you have peonies, they do self-sow, at least up here, if they make seeds, and they're really easy to take care of, and you soon end up with more than you want. Same thing happens with hellebores. Let's go out here and take a little walk around the yard and look at some of the daffodils. Here in the front we've got, oh, this is a nice daffodil. I don't know if this is geranium or Seven Sisters or one of those things. Very fragrant. Oh yeah, smells wonderful. This one's probably thalia, I'm guessing. It's got a nodding flower. Yeah, thalia is a good one. An old tough one that multiplies like crazy. There's some crinums emerging as I walk along with what I guess manages to be sort of a path here. There's some South African things sprouting here. Some little yellow button flower from the high velvet. It didn't come from a particularly cold area, but it's hardy here to the point of annoyance. I do trim it back a bit. There's a phlox there that's self-sowed, and I know it's self-sowed because it's not near the other ones, and there's another self-sown back here. So they shoot the seeds out of their little pods and they end up in weird places. There we have rising stems of Ranunculus vulgare, which is has a foul-smelling flower. I don't see a flower bud this year, but we have to wait till it grows out more fully. But when it does flower, it's a awesome thing that smells like a dead body for a day or two. But it's a big red spath, red-brown kind of thing. It's really cool. Trust me, it's cool, even though it smells bad. There's some Xanthodesh ethiopica coming up. This is a spotted leaf form I got from a friend in California. It's done very well, a little mulch for winter. Comes up and blooms in the summer. Last summer was dry. This year hopefully we'll get a little more moisture and it'll do better. There's some, getting more of the daffodils. You can see the tulips in the back. Against our newly painted house, we put a new roof and new paint on it. We're still getting a few odds and ends fixed, but it's when you have a house, they do need care. We have some other things here. We do get some issues to clean up, like This was probably a persicaria. It'll kiss me over the garden yet, or polygonatum, whatever it is. Got to get out of the daffodils. There's loads of seedling daylilies I have here. And in the front we don't have a fence, so again I have to spray for protection. This seemingly bare area is full of purple synicios. Synicio poliotum came from Vanioti. This is their little colony, and they will seed around nicely if we get some decent moisture this year. And not far away is yet another group of crinum bulbospermums. Some of these are multiplying into clumps. I like to break these dead leaves at the ends. I pull them off because they kind of bind the leaves together. So taking them off helps free the leaves so they don't get all twisted up. And you know, if there's something in the middle that looks a little off, just pull it out, loosen it up a little bit, let the plant do what it wants to do. You know, free the crinum, and it'll reward you later on with loads and loads of blooms. Nobody even grows them here in New York, and I don't know why. They're so easy. Well, I know why, because they're not a nursery plant that we produced in 4 months. This is Tulbaghia. I protect it every year, and it comes up in purple and white form. There's also agapanthus I protect, some cultivars and seedlings of cultivars in this area. You can see those nice buds coming. Oh, they look good. I give them a decent mulch of several inches of wood chips, and then I put some on the pile. I'm due for another load of wood chips soon. We also have self-sowing annuals here. There's too much annual coreopsis. That one does seed aggressively. And the Haplocarphas have had a very light mulch of maybe an inch or so, but they're coming back. The Haplocarphya scaposas. This is a silver form collected by a friend in South Africa. It has a more silvery leaf than normal, and it's a pretty thing, silvery or not. It'll have a yellow flower, kind of like a gerbera. And if we go here, we can see again, these daffodils have clumped up massively over the years. These are, you know, somewhere from mixes from the Dutch. Others are specific varieties, but they have really clumped up to the point that people come over. Oh, and there's this lovely little pink thing blooming here. I think it's Silene rosea or something. Friends brought it over. An old high school friend of mine that we got reacquainted. We were actually standing on a line at a native plant sale talking to each other, and before we realized who each other was, it was funny. And her and her husband came over and bought this plant when they came, and it's still here after several years, thriving very well, as are they. And yeah, this daffodil got a little fried in the 90-degree heat, I guess. A lot of annuals are coming up here. Larkspurs, the singles, a lot of poppies, although surely poppies will get eaten by deer. This is another helichrysum from South Africa that seeds around a little bit here. It has a yellow yarrow-like flower. And they seem to be hardy without needing a mulch. It looks like the dwarf bearded iris is finally starting to bloom. Some of these I grew from seed. I think one I got from a friend. This one came from seed from Signa. Beautiful blue flower. It's right here next to the fire hydrant, which is right by the house. You know, they like low vegetation near there, so the dwarf iris fits the bill. There's another agapanthus here coming up. And this thing here with these leaves is a ornithogalum, magnum, I think was the name. It's what it is it's a big long spires of white come up later on. It's a good one. I got it years ago and I haven't seen it in the trade. I've seen something that looks like it again, but got it from the Dutch growers and it's doing good. And they make some seedlings too. There's another crinum coming up here. I think it's called Carolina White. I do give it protection and it multiplies like a fiend into clumps. It doesn't make seed. Carolina White or Carolina Star or something like that. But it got off eBay and it's doing good. Oops, there's a dandelion under that daffodil. Have to weed that one out. This is my sand pile where I grow a lot of desert plants. You can see a very nice Ife on the white one. I think this is Alberto Castillo. A really nice selection named after a guy who's pretty famous for bulbs. I do have to weed in here periodically. There's some baptisia coming up from seed. I put a bunch of seed there and of one of the blue flowered species, and it comes up too much, and I actually end up having to cut it back to keep it from getting too vigorous. There's also oriental poppy selections here and a bunch of other things. More agapanthus here. There's some tags here for some agapanthus I got to test out from one of the growers of the Southern Living series, and some of them are coming back nicely with mulch. They do need the mulch here because they weren't bred for hardiness. That Nephofia there is Nephofia, I think it's Natalensis. And there's the cutest little dwarf daffodil here that has made a massive little clump of tiny little flowers. Look at those tiny things. Wow, that was a real pretty one. And we've got just a giant rugosa rose here. This is Hansen. It's become a beast, starting to sucker. I may one day have to like whack it back or something, but it's beautiful, fragrant double flowers. Here's another Carolina white crinum there. And I just got beat at by people coming to visit. One more view of the sand garden here. We have a cholla cactus. We have hardy. The Opuntia compressa has really spread. It's from seed. And we also have sand phlox here, which I got from Wildflower Nursery in Missouri. It's blooming beautifully with blue flowers. There'll be some other nice things here. There's a thermopsis blooming at the base. Pretty, it's like a yellow lupin. And we've got, again, a whole cast of characters here coming up. There's the little rosettes of the Burkea. I have quite a colony here, Burkea purpurea here, and they self-sow, and they deer don't bother them. There's another helichrysum there trying to engulf everything. It had again die back, but it'll come back, don't worry. Behind one of the daffodils, not far from where that car went by, is the rising spires of Asparagus verticillatus. I got the seed from Panayiotis from Inner Mongolia, and it makes a nice, ever bigger thing every year. It started making red berries last year, actually. Another oriental poppy there with its lacy leaves. And a little yellow flowered thing. It's Elysoides something or other, and it makes cute little yellow flowers, but it does seed around, something from the Rock Garden Exchange. And the critters don't bother it, but it makes these interesting seed pods, these little round things, and seeds everywhere. And loads of hellebores and tulips. And I'm going to break now because we have some friends coming over.